Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Welcome to Concordia University, Wisconsin. It's 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time, the time set for convening Wisconsin Energy's 2014 annual meeting of stockholders. I'm Gale Klappa, Chairman and Chief Executive of Wisconsin Energy, and I will serve as Chairman for today's meeting. We're delighted to be back here at Concordia. It's our annual meeting, home away from home. And I'd like to thank the President of Concordia, the Reverend Dr. Patrick Ferry, and his entire staff for their always gracious hospitality. Now, before we begin our session today, I'd like to take just a moment to tell you about a tremendous honor that we received recently, one of the highest honors in our industry. We have been named the most reliable utility in America. Thank you. Thank you. This national award is given annually to the company that has excelled in keeping the lights on and the electricity flowing for their customers. The review process for this award is truly rigorous. Utilities across the country are judged on the frequency and duration of power outages and for their leadership and innovation in customer service. I can tell you that our reliability statistics are impressive, but when you look beyond the numbers, it's clear that we earn this honor because of something else, because of the dedication and professionalism of our employees and our relentless focus on customer satisfaction. To give you an idea of what I mean, let's take a ride with Lou Sanchez, one of our first responders, a troubleshooter in our Oak Brook Service Center near Oak Creek and Franklin.
This is my truck and this is your office. You know, this is your break room. I think I wouldn't trade my truck for anything. I've been in trouble department 7 years now. We're the first responders. It could be to a fire, it could be to a carpool accident, it could be to a power outage. They don't call trouble department unless they got trouble.
Our trouble clerks here dispatch the orders out to the troubleshooters.
Control center, this is Aaron.
They can't make mistakes, because if they make mistakes, we could have customers that are out of power, we could have equipment that's damaged, but more importantly, we could have somebody that's injured. What I'm seeing right now is the band of snow. Whenever we've got weather activity, I can monitor wind speeds, temperatures, snowfall.
It's one of them jobs that you check in and you don't know what the day is going to bring to you. That storm comes through and you just get pumped up.
Once we get the calls coming in, then we go ahead and electronically drop it in the queue of the troubleshooter.
We'll restore a faulted cable. Mentally, you're prepared that, hey, we're going 16 hours. You do something that affects a lot of people's lives and you help people out.
The hazard is dispatched and the troubleshooter's en route to check the call.
When that breaker comes on and the lights come on all around you, you know, it's like you're gonna pick up, you know, a couple hundred or 1,000 customers. It's a good feeling.
Do you like it when it gets crazy?
When you're younger, you do.
Well, Lou is with us in the audience today. Lou, thank you. And so are representatives from our customer operations and customer service groups. I'd like to ask them all to please stand for a round of applause. And by the way, Lou told me he was available for autographs after the meeting, right? But ladies and gentlemen, these are the folks on the front line who work with our customers every hour of every day. My thanks to you and to all of our employees for helping to make We Energies simply the best. And now I'd like to ask Kevin Fletcher, our Senior Vice President of Customer Operations, and Joan Schaefer, our Senior Vice President of Customer Services, to join me here at the podium. Good morning, Joan.
Good morning, Gail.
Hey, Kevin. Good morning, Gail. Kevin and Joan, in recognition of the exceptional work of your employees. It's my great pleasure to present to both of you this year's Chairman's Award. There you go. Congratulations. And I'd also like to announce that the We Energies Foundation, on behalf of all of our employees, will make a $10,000 contribution to Stars and Stripes Honor Flight. And of that amount, half will go toward construction of Fisher House, Wisconsin. Some of you may be aware that Fisher House is being built on the grounds of the Milwaukee VA Medical Center to help support the families of veterans who are receiving treatment in the hospital. Kevin and Joan, great people to work with. My thanks to you and to your teams for the great work you do every day for our customers. Thank you. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you will please stand, Kevin and Joan will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again, Kevin and Joan. Well, I'm delighted to see all of you here this morning. I'd also like to extend a word of welcome to those who are at home on their couch, joining us on their iPad over the internet. Our meeting is streaming live this morning at wisconsinenergy.com. And now it's time to call our 2014 annual meeting to order. I've been given the inspector's report, which indicates that 81% of the company's outstanding shares are represented. This constitutes a quorum under the company's bylaws, and the meeting therefore is duly convened to conduct business. At the end of our formal program, we'll be happy to answer as many of your questions as time allows, and you may also ask questions of any of our officers or directors who are here today. As always, some of the information we'll be sharing with you at this meeting is forward-looking in nature and is based on our current expectations. Our projections clearly involve risks and uncertainties, factors discussed in the company's latest Form 10-K and in future reports filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission could cause our actual results to differ materially from those discussed today. And now we'll begin our business session by introducing the members of the Wisconsin Energy Board of Directors. I would ask that each of our directors please stand as I introduce them and remain standing until all have been recognized. Please hold your applause, ladies and gentlemen, until the end of the introductions. We'll begin with John F. Bergstrom, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Bergstrom Corporation. Barbara L. Bowles, retired Vice Chair of Profit Investment Management and retired Chairman of the Kenwood Group. Patricia W. Chadwick, President of Ravengate Partners, LLC. Kurt S. Culver, Chairman and Chief Executive of MGIC Investment Corporation and Mortgage Guarantee Insurance Corporation. Unfortunately, Kurt had minor surgery just earlier this week and is not able to be with us today. Thomas J. Fisher, Principal of Fisher Financial Consulting, LLC. Henry W. Knippel, retired Chairman and Chief Executive of Regal Beloit Corporation. Euless Payne Jr., Managing Member of Addison Clifton, LLC. And Mary Ellen Stanek, Managing Director and Director of Asset Management for Baird Financial Group. Please join me in a round of applause for our terrific directors. Thank you. And now I'd like to recognize the officers of Wisconsin Energy and its subsidiaries, as well as the union and management teams who are present here today. Our union and management groups work very closely together to address important company issues. Would you please stand? Thank you. I'd also like to introduce Susan Hogan from our transfer agent, Computershare. Susan has been appointed the Inspector of Election for our meeting. Susan, would you please stand? There you are, Susan. Thank you for coming. And finally, with us today are representatives of Deloitte & Touche, Tricia Pemberton and Emily Vondrum. They're our auditors, and they can answer any questions you may have about our 2013 financial statements. Tricia and Emily, would you please stand? I almost didn't recognize Tricia without her green eye shade. And now I'd like to call on our Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary, Susan Martin, to report on the proposals that we have before us. Susan?
Thank you, Gail. On March 21st, 2014, a notice of this meeting was sent to all stockholders of record as of February 21st, 2014. As set forth in your proxy statement, there are 3 items requiring a vote. 1, the election of 9 directors to serve for a term expiring at the annual meeting of stockholders in 2015. 2, the ratification of Deloitte & Touche LLP as independent auditors for 2014. And 3, the advisory vote on compensation of the named executive officers, or say on pay. If you previously voted your proxy, your vote has already been recorded. At this time, I would like to ask if there are any outstanding proxies that have not been turned in to be counted. If you have not yet voted, please raise your hand and an usher will pick up your ballot. Thank you. The vote is now closed. I have been appointed to vote all of the shares represented by the proxy votes sent in by our stockholders. I have submitted the proxy ballot, which reflects your instructions, to the Inspector of Election. The preliminary inspector's report has been completed. The following nominees for election to the Board of Directors all received more than 95% of the votes cast and have been duly elected: John Bergstrom, Barbara Bowles, Patricia Chadwick, Kurt Culver, Thomas Fisher, Gail Klappa, Henry Knipple, Ulice Payne Jr., and Mary Ellen Stanek. Each director will serve until the 2015 annual meeting. The proposal to ratify Deloitte & Touche LLP as independent auditors for 2014 has received an affirmative vote of 95% of the votes cast. 99% of the votes cast. Deloitte & Touche is therefore ratified as the independent auditors for 2015. The proposal to approve the compensation of the company's named executive officers, as disclosed in the proxy statement, has received the affirmative vote of 80% of the votes cast. This vote was advisory and not binding. However, the Board reviews the voting results and takes them into consideration when making future decisions regarding executive compensation. I will now turn the meeting back over to Gail, who will discuss our 2013 performance and our outlook for the future.
Thank you, Susan. And good morning again, everyone. As I thought about our accomplishments and the entire effort of 2013, I couldn't help but recall a quotation that I once read from an American icon back in the day in the 19th century, Theodore Roosevelt. And Theodore Roosevelt was fond of saying, "The best prize that life can offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing." And the results of that work over the course of the last year have resulted in a number of very significant milestones for your company, and I wanted to share them with you today. We'll start with our financial performance. We were able during 2013 to deliver the highest net income in company history and the highest earnings per share in company history, with our earnings per share coming in for the year at $2.51, up about 6.8% from the prior record, which was set in 2012 at $2.35 a share. For those of you who followed us for a number of years, you know that one of our objectives over the course of the last decade has been to lower the overall debt levels in terms of the total capital invested in the company. If you see on the slide here, we entered really 2001 with almost 68% of all the capital invested in the company being in the form of debt. And we've continued to work that down as we've improved the balance sheet of the company. We made further improvement during 2013 and ended the year with about 52.5% of the capital invested in the company being in the form of debt. That has allowed us to retain some of the very highest credit ratings in our entire industry. We mentioned earlier that we were named the most reliable utility in America. I should also mention that in that same assessment, for the 9th time in the past 12 years, we were named the most reliable utility in the Midwest. Again, a sign of consistency of strong performance. We cannot ever forget, as a management team, that we work in a dangerous industry. and one of our continuing strong focuses across the business is safety. I'm pleased to tell you that last year we achieved the second safest year of operation in the long and storied history of this company. We actually have safety records going back to the late 1800s. So this year, 2013, was the second safest year of operation. We have been able, with the strong support of our employees, to actually reduce our OSHA recordable incidents and our lost time accidents by 70% since 2003. But we can do even better, and our goals for 2014 are even better than what we achieved in 2013. One other important milestone of this past year was the completion of our new biomass-fueled power plant in northern Wisconsin. Perhaps some of you made the trip to northern Wisconsin last year. We held our annual meeting a year ago on the site, or near the site, of the brand new plant we were building that will use wood waste from the northern Wisconsin forest as the fuel. So we will use tree trunks, tree limbs, bark, sawdust as the fuel for this power plant. And the plant, which we completed on November 8th, is now in commercial service. It provides electricity for the grid and steam for the paper-making operations of the Dumtar paper mill, where we built the plant on the Dumtar site. We're very pleased with the operation so far, and this investment, nearly $270 million, came in on time and on budget, and will help us meet the state's renewable energy standards for the year 2015. Speaking of all the work we've done to build new power plants and improve our environmental performance, I think this particular statistic is one of the most impressive that I wanted to share with you today. We have seen a dramatic change in our environmental performance over the course of the last 10 to 13 years. If you turn back the clock to the year 2000, we have added 50% to our power production capability since that time. So we're now capable of providing 50% more electricity than we were back in the year 2000. But at the same time, even while adding considerably to our fleet, we've been able to reduce our total emissions of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, mercury, and particulate matter by more than 80%. And in fact, many of you may have seen in the newspaper just the other day where the State Department of Natural Resources and the Federal Environmental Protection Agency have deemed that southeastern Wisconsin is now back in attainment for the first time in a long time. And the air, according to the State Department of Natural Resources in southeastern Wisconsin, is now cleaner than it's been at any time in the last 30 years. Much of that is due to the very significant investment that we've made in modern, state-of-the-art environmental controls. We've also been very fortunate that we've been able to provide our stockholders with really industry-leading dividend growth. In fact, we raised the dividend. Our board of directors elected to raise the dividend starting in January again. Our dividend that we expect to pay this year at an annual rate of $1.56 a share is 30% above the dividend that was paid during 2012. Our goal is to pay out between 65% and 70% of our earnings to you in dividends by the year 2017. So we would expect, as we move forward through 2014, 15, and 16, that we should have sizable dividend increases coming your way again. We project 7 to 8% annual dividend increases over the course of that period so that we can hit our goal of a 65 to 70% payout ratio by the year 2017. In fact, if you look at our dividends paid to you last year and the shares we were able to buy back with our positive free cash flow, we returned more than $450 million of cash to our shareholders during 2013. That's more cash returned to shareholders than any other single year in our history. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Our share price has responded quite well to the strong performance of the company. In fact, during 2013, our share price hit 16 new all-time highs. And the stock actually, on the day before the annual meeting last year, hit its high for the year at $45 a share. We've, of course, hit a brand new all-time high yesterday at over $49 a share. But when we hit $45 a share last year, the enterprise value of our company exceeded $15 billion for the first time in its history. I mentioned earlier the importance of strong, consistent performance. And I can tell you that when you look at all of the other utilities that are our peers, and virtually every utility in the industry is in one of these indices, the S&P Electric Index, the S&P Utilities Index, the Philadelphia Utility Index, or the Dow Jones Utility Average. We are the only company in any one of those utility indexes that has been able to grow earnings per share and dividends per share every single year since 2003. So let's take a little trip down memory lane. I kind of like these numbers and I wanted to share them with you. We were fortunate that we outperformed all the utility indexes last year. You can see that the utility indexes, both in terms of price appreciation and dividends, so what we call total shareholder return, we're up anywhere between 7.8% and 12.7%. That's total shareholder return for last year. Wisconsin Energy, on the other hand, total shareholder return of 16.1%. For the 3 years, again, you see the major utility averages up around 30 to 37% in terms of total shareholder return over the 3-year period that ended in 2013. By comparison, Wisconsin Energy's total shareholder return over that same 3-year period up 55.5%. And we might as well keep going, folks. 5 years. Over the 5-year period, fairly strong performance from all of the major utility indexes, up anywhere between about 38 and 64% for the Dow Jones Utility Averages. But your investment in Wisconsin Energy's total shareholder return over that same 5-year period, 131.8%. And finally, let's look at the decade. And we've put on this slide not only the major utility indices, but also the broader market averages. So you can see the major utility averages, and then the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. And actually, over the 10-year period, utilities compared very well in their total shareholder returns with the broader major market averages. So the best return you see here is if you'd invested in the Dow Jones Utility Average over the 10 years, would be 170.5% return. S&P 500, much broader index, up about 104%. Again, by comparison, Wisconsin Energy's total shareholder return, 227.1%. So a very strong decade for our customers and for our shareholders. And speaking of customers, one of our relentless focus areas, as I mentioned earlier to you, is on customer satisfaction. Treating customers the way we want to be treated. Not acting like a utility that doesn't care, but understanding and respecting that our customers are our friends and neighbors, and that the best way we can perform to preserve the value of this franchise is to satisfy customers. So we measure customer satisfaction every single day. And I'm happy to tell you that for the fourth quarter of last year, we achieved the highest customer satisfaction ratings since our merger years and years ago with Wisconsin Gas. So for the fourth quarter of 2013, for any customer that had any kind of interaction with the company, 91.4% were either satisfied or very satisfied with We Energies, and over 95% were either satisfied or very satisfied with their particular transaction with the company. Again, the highest ratings that we've had since we began measuring in terms of customer satisfaction. And then as we turned the chapter to 2014, and just a few weeks ago actually, we received some good news from J.D. Power and Associates. Some of you may be familiar with J.D. Power. It's a national organization that does customer satisfaction studies in all kinds of industries, including our industry. And this particular study from J.D. Power is of business customers. They define a business customer as any kind of commercial establishment that pays at least $250 a month for electricity. J.D. Power surveyed more than 17,000 of these commercial customers across 48 different utility systems nationwide in the spring of this year. And here are the results. We Energies ranked number 1 in Wisconsin, number 1 in the Midwest for power quality and reliability, number 1 in the Midwest for customer service, and top 10 in the nation, in fact, number 8 overall. These are the best ratings we've ever had from a J.D. Power Business Customer Satisfaction Survey. So we're very pleased with the progress that we're making on customer satisfaction. And just the other day, in fact, earlier this week, we released our first quarter earnings. As you can imagine, with the brutal winter that we all endured, and with the tremendous demand for energy to keep people warm and keep people alive, we had a very strong quarter. Earnings came in at 91 cents a share for the first quarter of this year compared to 76 cents a share in Q1 of a year ago. We actually raised our earnings projection for the year just slightly, so our new earnings projection for calendar year 2014 is in a range now of $2.58 a share to $2.64 a share. And if we can get in that range, and I'm quite hopeful that we can, we will again have another record year for earnings for the company. Speaking of the first quarter and the tremendous cold that we all endured, we delivered more natural gas to our customers during the first quarter of this year than during any other single quarter in history. And not but just by a little bit. We exceeded the previous record for natural gas deliveries to our customers, and that record was set in the first quarter of 2008 by more than 11%. Demand for electricity also picked up in the first quarter, and not just because of the weather, but we saw an increase in industrial demand for electricity as well. Total sales of electricity to our retail customers in Q1 of this year were up by 3.9%. And I might add that our new generating units performed exceptionally well during the polar vortex. In fact, our new units at Oak Creek, which are fueled by coal, one of the cleanest burning coal-fired power plants literally in the world, was called upon by the Midwest grid operator every single day at the top of its capacity for virtually in the entire first quarter. And we believe that compared to fueling that plant with natural gas, we were able to save our customers $44 million just in the first quarter alone because of the lower price of coal compared to what happened to the price of natural gas during Q1. So where do we go from here? Well, we've laid out a 5-year and a 10-year plan, and we have, ladies and gentlemen, much work yet to do. And the plan looks like this. From 2014 through 2018, our goal would be to invest between $3.2 and $3.5 billion on infrastructure projects that would meet the following 3 goals. First, and we'll talk much more about this in a minute, renew and modernize our grid. Second, meet new environmental standards that we see coming and coming in the very near future. And third, we have found, we believe, some investment opportunities that will actually reduce our operating costs for customers. So our plan would be to spend a significant amount of capital meeting all 3 of these objectives between now and 2018. And let me give you some very specific examples. We're underway now in the far northeastern part of the state, the far northeastern part of Wisconsin, where Wisconsin meets the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. One of our 13 hydroelectric plants on our system is there. It's called Twin Falls. Twin Falls was built in 1912, and it still produces electricity from hydro very, very well, but the powerhouse built in 1912 is crumbling, and we literally need to rebuild the powerhouse. We've received all the regulatory approvals, all the environmental approvals to do so. Construction began last fall. We expect completion in 2016, and the investment will be between $60 and $65 million. When we're finished building that new powerhouse, we will also construct it in a manner that will meet all the current federal standards for hydroelectric dams. We're also just underway in the very early stages now of beginning to convert our Valley Power Plant, which is just south of downtown Milwaukee in the Menominee Valley, from its traditional fuel, which has been coal, to natural gas. The investment here we project will be between $65 and $70 million, and as I say, we have just begun the work there, and in an effort to kind of give you a sense of what we'll be doing over the course of the next 24 months at the Valley plant, we have, I hope, by the magic of satellite, I hope we have Tom Metcalf, our Senior VP of Power Generation. There's Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Gail. Good morning.
Good morning. Looks like you're standing in the shadow. of our Valley plant, Tom.
That's right, Gail, you found me again. Our cameras are facing north, looking at the Valley power plant. And Gail, what I'd like to do this morning, if I may, is answer 3 questions. The first question is, why are we converting Valley from coal to natural gas? Second question is, why is this facility so important for our customers and shareholders? And then at the end, I'd like to give a very brief wrap-up on the conversion project itself. So first of all, why are we converting the plant to gas? Well, the primary reason is economic. Burning gas here will reduce the costs for our customers, so obviously an advantage. But there's also some uncertainty over future federal air regulations. Over the past 15 years, we've invested in multiple environmental improvements across our fleet, and we've talked about many of those at these meetings. I'm pleased to report that at Valley, we meet all state and federal permit requirements. But again, the uncertainty over future, more stringent federal regulations could require us to install yet more air quality control equipment right here at Valley if we stay on coal. So as a result, we conducted a comprehensive assessment of all of our options, including decommissioning the plant. But we returned to gas. Gas is the lowest cost solution for our customers and provides obvious environmental benefits. So why is this facility so important for our customers and shareholders? Well, it's worth remembering that we've been generating electricity and steam in downtown Milwaukee for over 100 years. We started at a facility in East Wells Street and then later at Commerce Street. Valley was commissioned in 1968, and it's the only station that delivers steam in the downtown area. So it's vital that we continue to operate it safely and reliably. Now, steam is used for all kinds of things in the downtown area, obviously for heating, but also our customers use it for air conditioning, for hot water, laundry, even food processing. Steam has some unique advantages over some of our other energy sources. It's very clean. It's delivered directly to the doorstep. We don't need boilers or furnaces. And of course, it's very reliable. During the polar vortex scale, I'm pleased to report that the very high steam demand was met without any interruptions. The other really important factor with Valley is that it delivers its electricity, 280 megawatts, directly into the grid where it's needed the most. So it offers both grid stability and voltage stability. Again, so when we looked at the option of decommissioning the plant, it just wasn't feasible. The need to replace Valley with transmission would have been cost prohibitive. So where are we in the conversion process? Well, as you mentioned, we've obtained all of the permits we need to proceed, and we recently released our contractor to undertake the conversion. So they're doing the detailed engineering, ordering materials and supplies, and as I speak, we're working on the construction inside of the plant. In the first phase, we'll be removing the coal burners and the coal mills, and we're replacing those coal burners with gas burners. We'll be upgrading the controls. While most of the work is going on inside of the plant, we'll also be upgrading the gas pipeline. In fact, that work started last year and will be finishing up this year. So while most of the work is going on inside the plant, when the conversion's finished, it'll look very similar to how it looks today. Other than, of course, we'll be removing the coal pile, and we'll no longer be delivering coal by barge on the Menominee River. Gail, we're going to ensure reliability throughout this process. We're going to do 2 of the coal boilers this year and 2 next year. And if I may, before I hand it back to you, Gail, I'd like to give a selfish plug to our employees, our contractors, and our engineers. This is a complicated project. It requires careful coordination of lots of parties, and I'm pleased to report that our teams are doing a phenomenal job. I'm looking forward to giving you a successful report on the conversion late next year. Gail, that's all I have, so back to you.
Tom, thank you. Now, if I remember from precisely where you're standing, I think the Potawatomi Bingo Casino is about 2 blocks behind you.
That's right, Gail. I'm going to be going down there right after this.
All right. Well, when you double down, let me know, okay, Tom?
Okay. I will.
Tom,
thank you, Gail.
Thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate what you're doing. That's Tom Metcalf,
right.
our version of Where's Waldo. Tom's doing a terrific job for us. I mentioned earlier that one of our major initiatives over the course of the next 5 years will be what we call delivering the future. Our emphasis will be on renewing and upgrading our distribution networks, the networks that actually carry the power and the natural gas through substations and to your homes and businesses. And we've got a very specific plan laid out that we think is extremely important to maintaining our reliability. As you can see on the screen, our plan is to rebuild over 2,000 miles of electric distribution lines that today are more than 50 years old. We also plan to replace 18,500 power poles, more than 20,000 transformers, and literally hundreds and hundreds of substation components. On the natural gas side of our business, very much the same story. We plan to replace 1,100 miles of what we call vintage plastic and steel gas mains. And our definition of vintage is a steel or plastic gas main that was put into service before 1970. We also will be replacing 83,000 individual gas distribution lines, and that will require a lot of work. These are the lines, ladies and gentlemen, that come off the street and hook straight to your home. So we'll be unfortunately digging up a lot of yards, but we'll be replacing the soil. And we also intend to convert over 233,000 older meters and replace those meters with 233,000 new meter sets, all to maintain the kind of reliability that our customers have come to expect. We have one other major project that is in the approval stage right now that I wanted to cover with you because I think it's extremely important. We have asked the State Public Service Commission for approval to build a new natural gas lateral in the western and northwestern part of the state of Wisconsin. I'll show you the line here. The proposed route goes from Eau Claire in the far western part of the state to near the city of Tomah in the central western part of the state. What we're seeing in that part of the state is, first of all, our natural gas distribution network is not that strong in that part of the state. It's a very rural area of Wisconsin. But we're seeing a couple of things that require us, we believe, to materially bolster our network there. The first is customers who want to switch from propane to natural gas. This past winter, you probably saw the headlines about severe propane shortages in Wisconsin and other states. There are a number of communities in this rural area that simply don't have a natural gas distribution network or the ability to heat their homes, their businesses, their factories with natural gas. And we have at least 10 communities along the route here that have now formally petitioned both us and the State Public Service Commission to build a natural gas distribution system in their communities that will allow them the option of switching to natural gas. So we're seeing significant customer growth, not only in this part of the state, but other parts of the state, as customers find that heating their homes and businesses with natural gas is far more cost effective than doing so with either propane or oil. So that's one part of the equation. The second part of the equation is the significant expansion of the sand mining industry in that part of the state. Wisconsin has now become the #1 exporting state in America for exporting sand, in particular for use in hydraulic fracturing, the fracking revolution that we've seen that is allowing shale rock to be cracked open and natural gas and oil to be discovered and brought to market that could not have been brought to market before. Wisconsin is providing a lot of the sand for that fracking process. And just 5 years ago, for example, there were only 10 sand mining or sand processing operations in this part of the state. Today, there are 110. So we're seeing increased demand from that as well. We expect this investment to be between $150 and $170 million. The State Public Service Commission has scheduled technical and public hearings on this project this month, and we expect to receive some decision from the Commission later this year. Now, one last thing before I wrap up. I thought it might be fun to just walk back through the sands of time and think about that day in 1947. It was actually November 21st of 1947, the first day that any member of the public could have bought what is now Wisconsin Energy stock. Right before Thanksgiving, November 21, 1947. So if your grandfather or your mother or that crazy uncle of yours had on the first day of trading bought 100 shares of Wisconsin Energy stock, again on the first public day of trading, that investment would have cost about $1,800 plus, of course, the brokerage commission. So $1,800 of investment back in 1947. So if you were that uncle or your grandmother had just done nothing but hold the stock, just put the stock certificate in a safe deposit box and reinvest the dividends along the way, that $1,800 investment back in 1947 would today be worth $3,441,000. So we think it's appropriate to call our company a stock for the long run. And in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, our management team will continue to focus on strengthening the fabric of this long and enduring franchise. We'll continue to focus on the fundamentals. I can promise you we'll keep the customer at the heart of everything we do. We'll get up and work hard every day to support the communities and to grow the communities in which we serve, and to value and develop our employees who are making such a difference in a mission that matters. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. All right. Well, now it's time for the question and answer portion of our meeting. If you have a question or a comment, feel free to step to a microphone nearest you, and we'll have an attendant to assist you. Before asking your question, please state your name and your city of residence for the minutes. And I'd also ask that you please limit yourself to one question or comment so that others may have the opportunity to speak during the time that we have together. Thank you very much. Who has the first question for me?
Good morning, Mr. Klappa.
Good
Gail,
morning.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I find myself wishing I had a crazy uncle in 1947, though. That would have been wonderful.
This is a gentleman that some of you may know by the name of Joe Dean.
So I'm here, first of all, to thank you and your board of directors and officers and all of the employees for the remarkable stewardship of our company and a national treasure. Thank you so much for another phenomenal year. I'm also here to thank you on behalf of Stars and Stripes Honor Flight, and more importantly, all of the veterans past and present. The We Energies Foundation has been with us since day one and has made a remarkable difference in the lives of so many veterans. 125,000 World War II heroes have now flown from all over the United States to see their memorial. We're moving on to the Korean War veterans, as you know, and as soon as we can, the Vietnam veterans. And with your support of the Fisher House, helping those veterans that have answered this nation's call and are coming back wounded in mind and spirit and body. And it's just so humbling to be a part of this, and again, to thank you for your support of all of our veterans. Thank you.
Joe, thank you. Joe, thank you. I cannot tell you what a tremendous, literally privilege it's been to be a small part of the honor flight effort. And Joe Dean has just, his organizational skills, his passion for this, and what it's really meant to the lives of our World War II veterans has been incredible. So, Joe, thank you very much for everything you've done. We really appreciate it. All right. Yes, microphone number 3, please.
Hi, I'm Colleen Cullen, and I live in Milwaukee. One of the reasons I came here today was because I recently saw online that We Energies was named one of the 100 best corporate citizens in the United States by Corporate Responsibility magazine. And as a graduating senior at UWM, I think it's awesome that there are companies right here in Milwaukee that are worthy of good graduating seniors to go to and work for. So I just wanted to make a comment that I'm really excited that We Energies was given that recognition, I guess, and that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and best of luck as you graduate from UWM. Thank you so much. Yes, number 2, please. Good morning.
I'm Victor Metzig of Neenah, Wisconsin.
Do you know this gentleman over here?
I know of him. We don't travel in the same circles, though.
Welcome.
I was very much impressed by the report in the Stockholders book that we did. Followed about the same lines that your excellent presentation was. And it turned out to be, beginning of the year, I had a few extra $1,000 I wanted to invest. I talked to my manager, financial manager on this, suggested they added to my holdings in Wisconsin Energy. And much to my surprise, he said, well, we're recommending selling. We've taken the Wisconsin Energy from the hold position to sell position. Right. And I didn't do anything about that, but I'm not about to sell Wisconsin Energy. As I say, but it surprised me.
Okay.
And I wonder why.
Why that may happen?
Yes.
But
Yes.
Very good question. In fact, in the last 2-3 days, we've seen now, I think, 3 sell recommendations on the company. But that what's happening is utility stocks have obviously appreciated pretty significantly in value. And our valuations, in many cases across the industry, are higher than they've historically been. So for those money managers who think that the economy is going to rebound quite quickly and interest rates are going to go much higher, they are recommending that people take another look at their utility holdings and perhaps lighten up a little bit. That's what some of the analysts are thinking may be a wise move. I think I'm prohibited by the federal government of giving you my opinion, but but I think that's what's happening. You're seeing utility valuations go pretty high, and generally, if interest rates go way up, utility stocks suffer a little bit. I think that's the general premise. But I will let you decide whether or not you think the economy is going to grow very quickly. All right. Thank you for your time, and thank you for coming down from Neenah. We appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Microphone number 3, please.
Yes, I'm Linda Busher.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, how are you this morning?
Fine. How are you?
Great. I'm one of those that kept reinvesting dividends when I was very youthful, so.
Did you have a crazy uncle?
No, but I had a father that was a good investor.
Oh,
he started
terrific.
me with 40 shares, and I now have 840, so I'm happy.
Oh, congratulations.
And in between there, I didn't reinvest the whole time, so if I would have, who knows. But my question is, I would like a little update on the Manitowoc plant, what's happening in Manitowoc, Kewanee area.
Okay. We'd be happy to. As you may recall, the Kewanee plant, which is a nuclear plant not owned by our company, is being closed. Wisconsin Public Service sold that plant to an out-of-state generating company. After 3 or 4 years, they were having a very difficult go of it in terms of getting the price they needed to keep the plant operating. So about a year ago, that company made a decision to close that plant. It is not our plant. We still buy energy from 2 nuclear power plants that the company had owned for years and years at Point Beach, which is south of Kewanee. Those plants are still operating. Does that help?
Those are the ones I was referring to. I wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, our Point Beach plants. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
We sold our Point Beach plants about 5 or 6 years ago to the parent of Florida Power and Light, which has become a nationwide nuclear operator. And we felt that the plants would be in better hands to have them in a nationwide operation as opposed to just 2 units that we own. But what we did that is different than Kewanee, we contracted to buy back at a set price all of the output of those plants, those 2 units at Point Beach, for the entire remaining life of the plant. So that will probably go, guys, 2040. Yep, right around. So we should have a source of energy coming from Point Beach for at least the next 25 years. Okay. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir, number 4.
Stephen Shellen from Sussex.
Hi, Stephen.
My father worked for the company back in the 40s. My mother also worked, but she had to quit because you couldn't be married and work for the company at the time. So,
really?
I represent the second of 3 generations that have worked for the company.
Did we hire a divorce attorney at the time?
I can show you the standard from his tax return. Yeah,
really?
He included that sheet.
I think we've changed that rule.
Yes. Technical question, why are broker non-votes counted toward establishing a quorum?
Okay.
Second, the board performs its own evaluation and board committees perform their own performance evaluation. Why is there not more information in the stockholder report on the results of that and how they are improving their performance?
Okay.
And in the executive deferred compensation plan, the company tracks each participant's account balance as though the balance was actually invested in one or more of several measurement funds. Why aren't the monies invested in those funds so that the company has no responsibility to place the company profits in the funds after the fact?
Okay. All right, let me try to take one each at a time for you. On the broker non-votes, it's probably a bit of a misnomer. And let me try to explain how that process works. If you hold your shares in a brokerage account, basically under the new rules, and these SEC rules were passed 4 or 5 years ago, the broker used to be able, before these new rules, if you didn't tell the broker how to vote your shares, the broker could vote the shares on various items. Today, if you don't tell your broker how to vote the shares, the broker can and is encouraged by the government to basically vote the shares related to the auditor appointment. Remember, one of our things on the ballot was the ratification of the appointment of the auditors. So that then can count toward a quorum because the broker's actually voted on something. The broker cannot vote on election of directors or on the say-on-pay advisory vote without your instruction, but the broker is encouraged to vote for the auditor, a non-controversial item in the eyes of the government, to help companies get quorums in terms of the proxy voting. Susan, do I have that right? Yep. Does that make sense, sir?
Yes.
All right. Your second question was related to the self-evaluation of our boards. One of the things that we do is each committee, as you say, each year evaluates its performance, and those evaluations are shared with the entire board. And feedback is provided to each committee by the entire board. We just have not found it, I mean, the pages and pages of additional material that we would put in the report, we haven't found it to be particularly productive. But I guarantee you the evaluations are candid, the evaluations are done, by each committee, each particular year, and shared with the entire board, and feedback is provided to each committee by the entire board.
Since we have seen a fairly consistent membership of the board,
right,
can't we get a few sentences in the annual report as to how they are improving their capabilities, their knowledge, the process of managing the company?
Sure. We can certainly take that under advisement, and we will do so. And then your third question, would you mind repeating that again, please?
Yes. In the executive deferred compensation plan on page P49, it talks about how the participants' accounts are really tracked against a number of measurement funds, and then eventually the value of that account is based on the growth or changes in those funds, but they're not invested in those funds. They're paid from company money.
That's correct.
And why, if they're going to track those funds, why can't the money be invested in those funds grow or change as the funds change, and the company's obligation then is very fixed and defined?
It's a very good question. I think the simple answer is it is an unfunded obligation of the company. So if I have deferred a portion of my salary, which I have, I'm basically taking a risk that down the road, when I'm eligible to receive the deferred compensation, that the company can pay it. So it's basically becomes an unfunded liability of the company, but I'm taking the risk that the company can fund it.
But if that money went into those actual funds, the company would have no risk, and you would assume the risk of investing in those funds. Is there a tax advantage for you and other deferred?
No, there's no tax advantage, except the company now has, by not funding that plan, the company now has additional cash, additional investment opportunities that it can employ that cash as opposed to funding my plan.
So you believe that the company has an advantage in using that money?
I do.
Okay. Just a fourth comment. Since my father saved tax returns back from the 40s, I believe that his salary at approximately that time, coming out of the war period when salaries were frozen at Wisconsin Electric, that he was earning only about $18,000 or $19,000. So $1,800 would have been 10% of his salary to invest. So that would have been quite an investment. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Raymond Hurd, Wauwatosa.
Good morning, Raymond.
Every month, everyone in the room receives a bill from the Wisconsin Energy Corporation.
And we appreciate that.
And on the bill also is a state low-income donation.
Yes.
Now, I would like to have the lawyers from Wisconsin Energy go to the state of Wisconsin and say, this is a donation, and have a line item for this on the Wisconsin income tax to take it off of my income tax.
Okay. I'm not sure how far we'll get with that, but I understand your point. It is, from the standpoint of what we must bill the customer, it is not optional. We are required under state regulation to essentially bill a customer for a certain amount, every customer for a certain amount, and those dollars then pass straight through us to the state fund.
I also noticed, and I looked at the balance sheet in the booklet that we received, I did not see what the balance in that account was anywhere.
It's because it is not in our account. In other words,
we're sending it to you, and then you're giving it to someone else?
Every month I authorize a check to be sent to the state. It's the same thing with a program called Focus on Energy. There's a state agency that administers a program called Focus on Energy, and they go do energy audits and suggest things for customers. We collect every month as part of our bill a charge for Focus on Energy that you must pay, and then we simply turn around, Joan, and send a check. In fact, Joan and I both authorize the check every month.
But then when someone needs the money to pay their electric or gas bill, they have to contact the state, is that correct?
That is correct. They often contact us, we help them with the paperwork, but they have to contact a state or local agency. That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for coming. Yes, number 2. Good morning.
Morning. Terry Fritz from Manitowoc.
Hey, Terry.
I guess I've been reading a lot about Warren Buffett potential buyout of WE, and I'm wondering whether we have a concern with it, whether it would be positive or negative, or what we do with our stock.
All right, very good question. Let me answer the second part of it first. If Warren Buffett were to walk in and we were to accept an offer for him to buy the company, he would buy everyone's stock. So you really wouldn't have any stock anymore. And there has been a good bit of speculation about that. The speculation started when in Mr. Buffett's annual report to shareholders, he talked about having purchased Nevada Energy last year and said he hoped that he would not have made his last utility investment. So that spurred a lot of speculation about, well, who is he eyeing? And some thought it might be us, but I can tell you I've not had any calls from the Omaha area code. But obviously we would strongly consider our options, but at the moment I would say I think we're better served being an independent company.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yes, sir.
Todd Battle from Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Hi, Todd. How are you?
Great. Gail, I just want to say congratulations to the company. I'm an economic development professional that works in southeast Wisconsin, and we get a tremendous amount of leadership and support from Wisconsin Energy. We really appreciate the year you've had. We really appreciate the investment the company makes in its infrastructure and in the community. For our community specifically, this year has been a banner year in terms of attracting new business into the region, and Wisconsin Energy has been a major partner in that. Your customer service, your infrastructure, your leadership on economic development policy has helped us, and when we go to attract a company and make a business case, our infrastructure is a strong competitive advantage, and the knowledgeable and professional people you have working for your company are a key part of our team. So as a resident of the area and somebody that works in economic development, we really appreciate Wisconsin Energy and all it's doing to help grow this region. So thank you and congratulations.
Todd, thank you. I appreciate it. You're a long way from home. Todd, some of you may know, Todd is the head of economic development in Kenosha County. And Todd's had an incredible year, not the least of which is the announcement from Amazon that it will be building, Todd, I believe, 1 million square foot distribution center.
It's actually, the project's grown a little bit in scope, but they're actually going to construct about 1.5 million square feet in Kenosha.
And folks, every square inch of that 1.5 million square feet will be air conditioned.
Yeah.
Thank you, Todd. All right. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is James Brown. I'm here in Milwaukee.
Welcome.
I have a young man which I sponsored from Nigeria, and they having a lot of problem over there with the electrical, like the sabotaging. I guess you know of that. How can we help kind of spot some of the energy down there?
All right. Why don't we do this? I'm going to ask Kevin Fletcher, who's our senior VP of our network operations, to chat with you afterward. And if we've got electrical problems, we'll make sure we get on top of them.
Thank you.
If Kevin will see you after the meeting, and we'll get specific and figure out what we can do.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Good morning, ma'am.
Hi, Helen Nelsel from Big Bend. And first of all, I'd just like to thank you. I can't imagine hiring anybody that does everything that our electricity does for us. I think we get really good value for, we're an all-electric house. I think we really have excellent.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excellent service. I wasn't able to get to the meeting last year up in Rothschild.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what the radius is for biomass that's economical to get to that plant, and if you're going to put it in any other place in the state.
Okay. Very, very good question. If you didn't hear, the question is, our biomass plant near Rothschild, which is not far from Wausau in northern Wisconsin, and we're going to fuel that plant. We are fueling that plant with biomass, wood waste. And the question is, what's the radius that's economic to bring in the wood waste for the plant? It's really between 2 and 3 hours. All of the wood waste that's brought in there is trucked in. And from an economic standpoint, about a 2 to 3 hour radius from that plant, where there are just, as you know, incredible amount of forests, it's about the limit in terms of making it economic for that kind of fuel. Whether we're going to build another one of those plants in other parts of the state, it really does need to be, a plant like that really does need to be quite close to the source of the fuel. So for southeastern Wisconsin or even the southern part of the state, I doubt seriously whether it can be economic. There may be room for one more plant of its kind up in that region, but I would suspect, given the supply of biomass, that would be about all we could do.
I was just wondering if we got hit with emerald ash, if it's economical to haul it from the southern part of the state up there to that plant, or
Not really.
so there's going to be lots of trees.
No, unfortunately not really. When you think about the transportation costs, the trucking costs, the loading and unloading costs, if it's far away, it gets quite expensive.
And do you have any more plans for expansion of wind energy?
Well, we've continued to, again, we have this standard that the state is asking all of the utilities in Wisconsin to meet, so that by 2015, 10% statewide of all the electricity we sell must come from renewables. The most cost-effective renewable is probably wind. And what we have done, we have built the 2 largest wind farms in the state of Wisconsin, and we are continuing to look at wind farms that other developers have built and buying energy from those wind farms, because many of them were built and don't have enough off-takers, don't have enough contracts for the energy from those wind farms. So we have expanded, I think, each year for the last several years, Alan, we've expanded our contracts with other wind developers for wind energy. There will come a point, we think, depending upon customer growth and demand growth, there will come a point in the latter part of this decade when it may be necessary for us to build another wind farm. And we actually have a placeholder for that in our capital spending plan in about 2018, 2019.
Thank you.
Good questions. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Well, I have officially worn you out.
Gail?
Oop, I haven't. One more question.
Yeah, I didn't want to monopolize before. You talked about the replacement of lines and poles. What you didn't talk about was any of the underground electrical infrastructure in the city of Milwaukee and its related suburbs, some of which is some of our older cabling. And I'm wondering if there is an effort there to put in more modern cabling, higher capacity, better quality insulation.
There absolutely is, and when I said lines, I meant both a combination of overhead lines and underground lines. So we're looking at infrastructure that's 50 years old or older and planning to make replacements. And the reason for that, just in case you're curious, is that, as many of you know, the equipment and the technology that our industry uses is very reliable. But when you look at the engineering data, the failure rates of the distribution network equipment really go up exponentially once that equipment passes age 50. So we're really looking at and testing and planning to upgrade those, both overhead and underground, when the lines reach a certain age.
Okay, thank you.
You're more than welcome. All righty. Terrific. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. This concludes our 2014 annual meeting. We appreciate you taking part, and please be assured that our management team will work hard in the year ahead to uphold your confidence and your support. Thank you again. Drive safely.